Hey everybody, this is Perch. Recently, the Robert Kirkman and Skybound got the licenses to GIJoe and Transformers from Hasbro. It's funny because the licenses struggling at IDW and Hasbro being upset about it was very briefly a story. You remember? That was something people were talking about, and then it's like it kind of got swept under the rug, and then Kirkman had the license suddenly, and then off we go. And, you'd expect the comic beat, bleeding cool type sites to be all over that. Like, what happened? What was how did this occur? And don't get me wrong, there were a couple stories, but then the whole thing seemed to like quiet down almost instantly. And there we have it. So now it's the Energon Universe over in Kirkman's thing. It was kind of somewhat stealth launched. It was the world's worst kept secret. Was in the industry that this was happening, but still, it launched, and there was some big buzz about it. This viewer is writing in to ask about it. It says, "Dear Perch, how popular is the Energon Universe? Online, it seems like everyone is praising all of the various titles, but is that translated to actual sales? I guess what I'm asking for is a comparison so I can better visualize. Is it on par with Blackest Night, Walking Dead, or the Ultimate Universe? What can Image do to keep the momentum going? What is your take on the Energon Universe? And are you excited for Scarlet or Destro? Scarlet and Destro. Okay. So, from what I can gather in the sales, it has buzz for sure. It has momentum. I mean, I guess the lazy way to answer your question is, yeah, it's doing well. Is it doing as well as Blackest Night did? No. From what we can tell, the sales numbers are lower than that, and the sales numbers are not as high as Walking Dead at its peak, but it is higher than Walking Dead as its start. So cheap plug for the sales comparison video for Walking Dead, which is in the playlist on my channel. You can go look at that. I think I had Blackest Night in there too, actually. Come to think of it. Maybe. I don't know. Did I do that one? All right. I should go check. Anyway, it's not doing as well as those, but comics as a whole aren't doing as well as those. So look, there's a million ways I can give you to caveat and kind of describe around the question. The question is, are they doing well? Is it translating to sales? Yes, it's translating to some sales. It's doing okay. Comics as a whole are doing worse than they did back, 10, 15 years ago in a lot of cases. So, like if you compare it to, say, Civil War, no, it's not doing anywhere close to Civil War. And also, you've got some variant covers and other things in the mix. So, it would be helpful to compare these as apples to apples versus, the comic industry of today versus the comic industry of 2010. It's very different, both in the volume, what people are excited about, and the variants. There's the buy-in incentives. Those are all a bigger factor in what gets a comic moving today. But all that said, it's a hit. Now, slightly discounting what I just said, I go into comic shops, and I can always every single one I've been into in the last month has had all the issues available, including the number one issues. They're there on the shelf, and you can grab them. Now the comic has gone into additional printings, I believe. I'm pretty positive there, but the originals are readily available. And typically, if historical comic logic worked, that would indicate some softness to the book. It means that the comic shop ordered copies it didn't sell. But in today's world, what does that mean exactly? I think that shops ordered strong on these books because they have the sense of being brand new, a jumping on point, creator somebody knows, feels like something that's relatively new and powerful, and people should jump into it. So, of course, comic shops are going to order high on that because having a couple extra, having some extra copies in the months to come is not a bad thing, especially if it's going to have some longer lasting legs to it. But it is odd to me that it's not selling out everywhere. Now, maybe in your region it is. It's quite possible this is an anomaly in mine. If you look at the Comic Hub numbers, it is one of the stronger selling books for sure. It is also, if you mentioned it, it is one of the stronger pirated books or books read online from, if you can trust those hit counts. So it's got interest. I've been, reasonably pleased with these books. These books aren't the most amazing thing ever to me. Daniel Warren Johnson's Transformers looks fun, looks good. I had a feeling, at this point I'm nitpicking. So keep that in mind. I mean, I'm happy with the book. I'm glad it's out. It feels good. It felt just slightly like a retread. It felt like I was reading something. Felt like I was reading an adaptation of the old cartoon. I don't know. It's like Autobots are on Earth. The humans are there. Starscream's being a prick again. Optimus is saving humans. Humans are scared of the Transformers. There's a certain element to it that I felt like I'd read this story before. And not that that's bad, because it was a good story, but it tempered some of the excitement for me. I kept thinking, like, when am I going to get to kind of a newer adventure or something? The beats were very familiar. In GIJoe land, I'm liking Duke. I thought Duke was a very strong comic. I thought that was quite a lot of fun, and it held up in the next issue. And Cobra Commander, similarly, I thought was pretty interesting. There was some interesting stuff going on there. Not what I expected. The Dreadnoughts are always, I always like those characters, so it's fun. And then Larry Hama's over there doing his thing with the regular book, which is fine. I think that book is the one that probably feels like it's continuing, because it is continuing. So they're just keeping that run going. But overall, look, I'm glad that it's there. I'm glad they're doing something new. You got Cobra Commander, Duke, Transformers. In theory, there'll be more. I think in order to keep it going, there needs to be some, two things need to happen. One's pretty obvious. They need to keep the talent high on it. Now, I know that some of the creators are moving off these books relatively soon, and then there'll be a new batch on there, and we'll see how the, does the creativity hold up? And, are we basically going to water it down with lesser creators? I don't know. But that would be a big watch out, if you will, of this comic, that they're going to do that. The other thing that needs to happen is the stories do need to cut their own path. That's why I think Duke is so good. Duke is doing something that feels new and dangerous and exciting. And Cobra Commander as well. It's there's some familiar beats in there too, but it still feels new. It feels like we're really getting a kind of a birth of a villain type comic. And you've got they've recently introduced Destro there, and it's like that, some good stuff. Transformers is the one where I want to see something new happen, and they're spiraling toward obviously the crossover between the two for a GIJoe versus Transformers kind of title, and I'm hoping as well that one has an impact, because at the moment it feels a little bit like as well like we've seen that dance before. But here's hoping. Look, I overall I think the comics are doing well. I think it's good for the comic industry to have some things that you can get some buzz about that are not Marvel or DC. And I think that's there's not only is there nothing wrong with it, it's healthy. It's healthy for the industry to have this. So good on them. Good on Kirkman for grabbing the properties and pushing to do something with them. I think that's exciting. And I guess the question goes to you: are you buying these? Are you reading them online? What are you doing with these books? And I have heard people say things like this title is, this is the greatest comic ever. I've heard that level of excitement. And why? Can you explain why you feel that way? Because I think they're solid, but our best comic ever? No, maybe I'm just too jaded. I mean, it's very, very possible that I'm just, sunk down the rabbit hole of like everything's mediocre. But I don't feel that. But still, I think they're solid comics. Do you hate these things? Let me know what you think. Are you buying them? Do you like them? Do you not like them? What do you think needs to happen to sustain, or what would get your interest? Do you worry? I'm quite frankly, I don't know if concerned is the right word, but it has the feeling like they're just going to shuffle the creative teams, and then some of these are going to become limited series that you didn't realize they were limited series, and then very quickly we're going to get into the trap of you're going to have 6 titles launch. I mean, right about the time they launch, and I love the character, but right about the time they launch the Zartan character, that will be a good indication. Zartan comic ongoing. That'll be an indication that maybe this one is going to have some troubles down the road. But I don't know. What do you think? What should people watch out for? What do you like? Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe, of course. And thanks for listening.